This week on The First Run, our 2014 catch-up finally concludes. Maybe. It's J.C. Chandor's A Most Violent Year. The film features a rising leading man in Oscar Isaacs, coming off of his critical acclaim in Inside Llewyn Davis. It's a movie about a man who's just struggling to keep his oil trucking business mostly legal. Is it a hard-boiled gangster thriller, Dave, or is there something else going on here? We'll review the big releases on Blu-ray and DVD featuring Dave's streaming pick of the week. Then it's the return of our annual top fives, this time featuring 1988. Dave, was a hell of a year in 1988.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of influential films, and we'll get into all of that later on in the show. But let's start everything off with a clip from A Most Violent Year.
My husband is a good man. Don't mistake his honesty for weakness. He deserves respect.
I'm sorry, but we are coming in.
But we're in the middle of a 10-year-old's birthday party. This was very disrespectful.
I run a fair and clean business, and I will fight till my last breath to prove that.
These are dangerous times and we have to adapt. It's not like when we was driving.
There were more murders and rapes in this city last year than there have ever been. So if you've come to tell me that we have an urgent security issue here, trust me, I'm aware.
It's been 2 years since you started investigating my industry. Do you have any idea who's been doing this to us?
Or you may be doing something to bring this on yourself.
I have always taken the path that is most right. The result is never in question for me. Just what path do you take to get there?
Can't have this situation continuing.
If one of these guys shoots someone, it will be the end of everything that we have worked for. Where did you get that?
Your youngest daughter found in the bush.
This is your kid playing with a loaded gun.
This can't continue.
You're at war here.
Come back here! You now have serious legal cases against you, ranging from fraud to tax evasion.
It wasn't your good luck helping you out all these years. It was me.
I don't want anything to do with this!
When it feels scary to jump, that is exactly when you jump. Otherwise, you end up staying in the same place your whole life. And that I can't do.
Dave, that was a trailer for A Most Violent Year, a film set in 1981, considered to be, statistically, the most violent year in the history of New York City. Dave, A Most Violent Year was released, squeezed right in at the end of the year for a December 31st release date, just so it could make some Oscar contention, and received no nomination for Best Picture. It's a film I was looking forward to, but it kind of came in under the radar. Dave, you had mentioned too, what was the box office return, you say, for that?
$3.2 million.
Yeah, not a huge hit, and kind of an underground film, right? You haven't really heard about a lot about it. I don't think you were even aware of it until I told you what we were doing.
No, I'd never heard of it.
So, not a lot of fanfare. The critics seem to like it. No nomination for Best Picture. I don't know, Dave. Do you think you could have gone along without checking this film out, or did you really enjoy this? Talk to me.
I liked it. This is going to be, you're going to ask at the end of this, like, would you recommend this? And that is going to be an endlessly hard question to answer. I did like it. I liked the struggle of this guy trying to weave his way through this New York oil business with all this violence happening all around him and trying to, get the upper hand on his competitors, but also dealing with his mob-connected wife and, just trying to make his way through this world in this certain period of time. I found to be endlessly interesting, and it was a slow moving film, but I never felt like there was anything wasted. Every scene was kind of moving the plot forward or moving the story forward in a way that kept me interested, but it was really slow. It was funny because it was intense, and you watch a movie like this and you almost start expecting to see Robert De Niro or somebody like that start to get crazy or all this violence to erupt, but it never goes there. It always stays as it's just a kind of a plain story about this guy trying to make his way through this world. And for that reason, it was actually more entertaining than it had gone off the rails. But it's a tough one to recommend.
I don't have any issues recommending the film at all. I thought it was fantastic. I think it's a nice throwback kind of 70s film, like an homage to Sidney Lumet. I would go even as far as to say Oscar Isaac's in a lot of the time too, and Jon Stewart said this on The Daily Show last week, that like a young kind of Pacino, before Pacino, as you put it, went off the rails and became a caricature instead of an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he does have this kind of smoldering, slow burn. It's a very subtle but intense performance by Isaacs in this film. And the whole movie's like that. It doesn't overburden you. It doesn't bash you over the head with stuff. Like you said, as we always say, some people say slow, I say deliberately paced. And even then, I wouldn't say it's that. I think it's just a slow-burning film that slowly unfolds itself as all these inevitabilities end up crashing down on Isaac's character. And is he going to make it? Is he going to be able to get this big land deal done? Is he going to be able to keep the mob out of what he does and try and maintain his business as legal as he can? I thought it was a fascinating film, and I couldn't wait to see what happened next. All these things that happened to him, and as he's trying to maintain the business, and he's right there. You know, he's got the golden ring. He's got it. He can grab it, and then things slowly start to slip away.
And everybody in his life is working against him. Like it's even his wife, who doesn't realize she's working against him, is just constantly doing things that make it harder for him to succeed.
Yeah, it's a small kind of. I felt like it's a small, intimate film that played wide and big. It really kind of had that feel. I love too how Chandor, and I apologize, I didn't get the name pronunciation, but I love the shots too. How he filmed the movie, not because he doesn't. I don't want to say cheap out or take the easy way out, but he doesn't go with the big New York kind of skylines, or he doesn't go for the iconic landmarks, you know?
No, this is just gritty New York.
Exactly, and I really like that. I like the color scheme, too. I felt it really added to the authenticity of the film. Really helped root it in that early 80s feel, because the color's kind of washed out. It's a little saturated. I really got into that, too. So, I don't know. The film sucked me in, Dave. As each corner turns, as each event develops, I was sucked into this film. It really kind of got into me. I want to stress though, it's not a thriller per se, and it's not like a mob film. It's not like a Goodfellas-y type thing. It's not that at all. But I think it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It also had a cool another thing too. Keep coming back to the word subtle. A subtle score by Alex Ebert. If you're not familiar with him, he's part of Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. A really kind of cool alternative band. So I think the music plays perfectly and kind of continues that vein of just a quiet, small, intimate, powerful film. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed everybody's performance in this too. Everybody came off just like absolutely convincing as who they were, who they portrayed to be. Deep characters, not caricatures.
Right.
I really enjoyed that. It was a movie that I didn't see coming. It was not something I expected. And even watching the movie for the first 20 minutes, I was kind of like, okay, when's the mob going to show up and start shooting everybody? And that never happens. That's not what this movie's about. It's just, but it ends up being just a fascinating, like, kind of look at this guy who's trying to start an oil company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's cool.
So what's your recommendation then? You said you're going to have trouble recommending it. So.
Yeah, I don't know who to recommend this to. Like, anybody who loves mob movies, you might not like this. Anybody who likes thrillers, you might not like this. If you just like movies about, characters kind of in situations, that's kind of what this is, I guess. It's a weird, it's just a
nice broad characters and situations.
I don't know. Like, who do you recommend this to?
I recommend this easily to anybody who has an affection for that director-focused 70s period of...
okay, yeah, I can see that, yeah.
I think if you're into that kind of thing, then this film is going to speak to you.
But if you're not, this movie isn't going to change your mind.
Well, I don't know. I think... Do you have to rush out to the theater and see this?
No.
No. But I think you should definitely check it out. At least rent it. If you're looking for something to see this, and listen, this weekend it's a second week of just absolute crap in the theaters, you know. So if you have to choose between this and Jupiter Ascending or whatever else, I would say definitely, you know what, check this out instead. I think you'll really enjoy it. You know, Dave? Would you give me that?
Like, if you're going by yourself, I'd say yeah, but like if you got to bring a spouse who likes, you know, chick flicks, then she might not dig this movie at all.
I mean, the SpongeBob movie is coming out this week, so I guess
yeah, that's a big hit. Big hit.
Well, if you've actually had a chance to see A Most Violent Year, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. And don't worry, Dave, another week and a half now, we get to Kingsman: The Secret Service, so we'll be excited for that. Unless we end up deciding to do 50 Shades of Grey instead. I don't know. What do you think?
We are not deciding to do that.
So let's take a break, come back, and we're going to tell you what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming is the word, Tuesday. And one of the films, Dave, I got to see, and I haven't really talked about it, but I'm excited because I saw this in the theater and I really enjoyed it. So let's find out what that is.
So what do you know about Danilo Blando?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, Ricky. Danilo's going to testify against you tomorrow.
He's the witness they've been hiding.
Man, ain't no way they flipped Danilo, man.
Sit down
Nah.
and listen to what he has to say.
They didn't flip anyone. Blando was working for the government the entire time.
You for real?
Yeah.
Look here, man, he was 1,000 times heavier than I'll ever be. I couldn't sell it fast enough to keep up with supply.
Slow down. You mean demand?
No, I mean supply. I was buying 100 kilos a week, selling $3 million a day, and still couldn't get rid of that inventory fast enough, man. It was raining coke.
Allegedly, Ricky.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Look here, man, I gave him $6 million a week, allegedly.
That's impossible.
Is it?
How do you sell that much cocaine on the street?
Look here, man, we used to cook it with baking soda. We called it Ready Rock. Powder was for rich folks. Look here, man, I was just the elf. Blandon, Santa Claus.
Dave, it's a clip from Kill the Messenger, being released on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday, February 10th.
There's like a saying about that. They say, like, don't do it, right?
Exactly. And that's kind of what the movie's about. It's Jeremy Renner. He helped produce the film as well, and he stars in it. And it's a story about and of course I'm blanking on the name, the writer who helped break the story about the U.S. government funding certain wars by propping up and selling cocaine.
That's right. I wanted to see this. I remember seeing the trailers for it. It looked really interesting.
It is. It's quite good. Renner's quite good, and it's a solid film. If unspectacular, but really good, and you should definitely check it out. It includes a commentary by the director, Michael Custa, and some deleted scenes as well. But it's a fascinating story about this writer's life, what happened to him, and all the horrible stuff that basically the government did to discredit him. And it's really good. You should definitely see it, Dave. Another great film coming out, I've quoted about this one previously already, is Nightcrawler, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. Kind of a weird stepchild to Drive, kind of that L.A. underworld, where Gyllenhaal plays this, I don't know what you want to call it. He's basically a loser. He has nothing going on in his life, and he meets up with Bill Paxton, who's one of these people who show up at crash sites and film everything and sell it to the local news. So he becomes obsessed with this, and he starts his own business to do it. And then slowly everything goes off the rails as he unravels psychologically and maybe decides to make the accidents and the events a little more horrible than they need to be. But a really creepy performance by Gyllenhaal. I don't think he blinks once throughout the entire film. You should definitely check that out. It includes a couple featurettes and a feature commentary starring writer-director Dan Gilroy. So you'll want to check that out. I'm sure, I have a feeling that that's going to hit Netflix too pretty soon. So when it does, watch it. Jon Stewart's directorial debut, Rosewater, is being released, Dave. A film that just did not hit home with people. It did not do well at all. It includes a Blu-ray, DVD, digital copy, and ultraviolet stream. Some making of featurettes, the story, the original Daily Show segment that caused all the hullabaloo as well. So you can check that out. Force Majeure, a film that I really wanted to see. It's a Swedish movie. It's supposed to be absolutely hilarious. Won a bunch of awards at Cannes. It's about this family that goes to this chalet, and then everything goes wrong, and all the secrets come out. It's supposed to be very funny and dramatic, and just a really great film. So I want to check that out. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day for the kids is being released. And then Lego DC Justice League vs. Bizarro League, a DC Comics Lego movie, is being released. And if you buy it, from the limited edition pack, Dave, you get a Bizarro Batman Lego figure. So you can add that to your collection. I know you're big on that. Right? Thanks for participating. Next, we're going to have New to Blue. Criterion is giving us Don't Look Now. Donna Sutherland and Julie Christie mesmerize as a married couple on an extended trip to Venice following a family tragedy. It's supposed to be an absolute classic film by Nicholas Rugg, who did The Man Who Fell to Earth, the David Bowie movie, and includes an all-new 4K digital restoration and a bunch of inside stuff on the making of the film. They're also giving us, that's Criterion, Jean Renoir's A Day in the Country, based on a story by Guy de Maupassant. It's a tenderly comic idyll about a city family's picnic in the French countryside and romancing of the mother and the grown daughter by two local men. Dave reenacts this one at his local playhouse.
Every night.
That's right, with the McPoyles. Includes an introduction by director Jean Renoir from 1962 and a bunch of other featurettes as well. Disney's giving us 101 Dalmatians on Blu-ray for the first time. You can check that out. Includes an all-new short, The Further Adventures of Thunderbolt, and a bunch of other stuff. Lenny, To Sir With Love. Fist, the film Stallone did. No, not what you're thinking, Dave. After Rocky. And then Necromantic 2, the sequel to the German horror film that is just as disturbing as you may think it is by that title. Dave, straight to DVD, pick of the week. I'm going to give you Frankenstein versus the Mummy, but it's a new version. Dr. Victor Frankenstein and Egyptologist Nahali Khalil are both professors at a leading medical university. Victor's latest grisly experiment is the reanimated corpse of a sadistic madman, and Nahali's most recent find is the cursed mummy of an evil pharaoh. When the two monsters face off in an epic showdown, no one is safe from the slaughter. Can the murderous rampage be stopped and the carnage contained before it's too late? I'm going to say yes. Dave, do you have a streaming pick of the week for us?
Yes, I do. And Chris, you're going to love this one. The reason I picked this one is because I'd like to get a little listener interaction here.
All right.
We have talked about this movie endlessly on this show. We even had, I believe, a full episode devoted to it. Starship Troopers just hit Netflix. I hate this movie. I think it's garbage. You love this movie. Former co-host Matt Howell loved this movie.
It's brilliant.
It is now on Netflix. So watch the movie, or don't. And tell us what you guys think. Is Chris right? I doubt it. Am I right? Is this really just overblown, like... I don't know, Chris. It's you keep talking about how this movie is brilliant.
I just said it again, yes.
But it's so mesmerizingly stupid, it's hard to buy into your theory here.
It's not at all. It's such a brilliant satire of military culture, and it's a great film. We had a great debate episode of it where it was, you and Espo versus me and Matt debating the film, and we even got retweeted by Casper Van Dien on Twitter about that episode. So that's like the highlight of this show. I don't know if anybody knows about that. But
that's as close to the stars as we've ever dared travel.
Right. And I think Neil Patrick Harris was involved in that as well. So how do you like that?
Yeah.
Whatever. Don't be an ass. Listen, it's a brilliant film, and I'm tired of defending it. Just watch. You're right though. Everybody watch it. Email us, and then you'll see how smart and correct I am. I like that. It's a good plan, Dave. Dave, all right, 1988.
Oh my God,
big year.
The biggest.
But
it may be the biggest.
I got some stuff though. I think I'm going to surprise you on my list. I'm very excited about this. So, yeah,
it's stupefying.
That's right. Yes. So let's hear a clip from a film that didn't make my top 5. And listening to it now, it's just weird. It's creepy. And we'll explain all that when we get back.
Wilma, can you think of any reason that Nordberg was at the waterfront last night?
No. But I found this at home in a drawer.
Photograph. I love you out of Caracas. A Panamanian ship. Frank, when Nordberg said, "I love you," he was telling you the name of the ship.
I realize that. Now.
We'd better check this out.
I want every available man on this.
I can't spare anybody, Frank. You know we're in charge of security for Queen Elizabeth's visit. I'm short-handed already.
Wilma, I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat.
Yeah, come on, Wilma.
So, Dave, that's a clip from The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. A absolutely hilarious film that is very weird to watch now, considering, you know, the whole OJ
thing. That's sad, because that movie was fantastic.
It is. I haven't seen it, though, in a very long time, but I
Me
did
neither.
enjoy trying to find a clip for the show for that. I really just reliving some of those moments. So that was released that year. In fact, was the 8th biggest box office return that year, and we'll get into the rest of the 10 later.
That makes me happy in my heart.
There you go.
That was the 8th biggest.
That's right. So I'll go first. You get the ultimate number 1, Dave.
All right.
My number 5, I think, is where I get a little crazy, but I'm going to go with it because I firmly believe in this film. I thought it was really well done. It's a throwback to all the kind of 50s horror films, but it's done in an updated way where it's really gory and gross and just a lot of fun. It's kind of gotten a big fan base now. It's a bit of a cult film, and that's Chuck Russell's Blob remake.
Really?
I absolutely, I always liked this film. And then Twilight Time released a limited edition of it on Blu-ray about a month or two ago, and I bought it because I wanted to check it out again. And I'm telling you, I loved it even more. This second, not even the second, but this 10th time through. It really looks great. I think it's sold out now, unfortunately, but everything I like in monster movies and horror films, I'm telling you, The Blob delivers that old-fashioned 80s horror. And that's another thing too, I think, why I have such affection for is in horror in the 90s, horror really took a downturn. It really turned to crap in the 90s. A lot of bad horror movies, and I feel like this was the last great 80s horror film.
Really?
So that's why it's my number 5. So there you go.
I've never seen that. I might actually check that out based on your description.
There you go.
My number 5 is Colors. This one stars Sean Penn and Robert Duvall as cops in Los Angeles. And this is a gritty, gang violence-based cop movie that is filled with people getting shot and profanity and the Crips and the Bloods. And it's got Sean Penn and Robert Duvall together in the same damn movie. It's awesome.
Directed
it's
by
still
Dennis
awesome.
Hopper.
Yeah. This movie is fantastic. And I saw this a couple years ago. It still holds up. It is still really good.
Does it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Here's the thing. Going through this list, too, I was embarrassed by a lot of the films I've never seen. Colors is one of them, Dave. I've never seen it.
I'm surprised by that because it was a pretty popular movie in its time.
Yeah. Do I need to rectify that then? Should I try and check it out at some point?
Yeah, I would check it out.
All right. My number 4, Dave, is the greatest buddy comedy action film of all time. So what's that?
Come on, Dave. I don't know. I'm looking. Can't be Young Guns.
What? No.
I don't know. What is it?
It's Midnight Run, starring Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. Absolutely fantastic film.
That's a great movie.
It is a ton of fun. De Niro really he basically plays a straight man to Grodin's criminal De Niro plays Jack Walsh, who's a bounty hunter, right? And he's got to bring this accountant back so they can take down the mob and all the crazy stuff that happens to them as they're trying to get back. I can't remember. They're trying to get back to Chicago or New York. I can never remember which it is. Or back to L.A. from Chicago. That's what it is. So, but if you haven't seen Midnight Run, I'm telling you, if you like the buddy action kind of genre, this is the pinnacle for me. Midnight Run. It is a ton of fun, and it has Joey Pants and Dennis.
I don't
Farina.
like Charles Grodin, but I like him in this movie because he plays a bad guy. Well, not a bad guy, but he plays like kind of the comedic bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this movie. It is really a great movie.
Maybe we'll hear it again later. So what do you got? What's your number 4?
The Last Temptation of Christ. I can't believe this is so low on my list, to be honest with you. But 1988 is a stupid year. It's almost ridiculous for us to make a top 5 list. I could have made a top 20 list and still be cutting movies out. But The Last Temptation of Christ, to me, is one of my favorite movies of all time. It stars Willem Dafoe. It was directed by Martin Scorsese. It's about the life of Jesus Christ, his journey through life as he faces the struggles all humans do, and his final temptation on the cross. So it humanizes Jesus in a way that we've never seen before. It shows perhaps a alternate take on what may have happened with Jesus on the cross, and it was highly controversial.
Oh, yeah.
But it is definitely worth checking out. It is really cool. It's got Harvey Keitel in it as well.
David Bowie's in it too, right?
What's that?
And David Bowie's in that too, right?
Is he?
I think so. Anyway, and then Peter Gabriel did the soundtrack for that. Dave, another film I've never seen.
I can't believe that. Especially knowing your kind of belief system.
Or lack thereof, yes. Yeah, no. Mine, yeah, I gotta catch up with that too. Criterion's supposed to have a really nice edition of that they just released on Blu-ray too a little while ago.
Really?
Dave, my 3 is actually another Criterion release you can check out. But watch the original version. All right? I can't stress this enough. Do not watch the horrible, horrible remake from the early 90s. I'm talking about the film The Vanishing from George Sluzier. One of the most psychologically terrifying films you will ever see. And it has a better ending than the original film. I should say, than the remake, I should say. But this is such a disturbing movie. It's about a young couple, and they're traveling. They're on holiday, and they're in France, and they stop off. They get a gas station, and there's a guy kind of in the background. And eventually, he kidnaps the woman. And then the guy spends the next 3 years trying to find his girlfriend. And the kidnapper, though, is kind of always around watching him. And things just get crazy from there. But, Dave, it is one of the most unsettling films you will ever see. So that's why it's my number 3. That's The Vanishing.
I've never seen the original. I did see the remake they did in the 90s. And
it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Dave, check it out. It is... Well, though you are not a big horror fan, so...
No.
Still. So there you go. What do you got?
My number 3, and I can't believe it's this low on any list, is Die Hard.
Yep.
Die Hard, frankly, it revolutionized action movies. It's been aped ever since. It was phenomenal when it came out. It's still awesome to watch now. In fact, I watched it with my kids a couple years ago, and they were like, "Whoa, that movie was awesome!" I'm like, "Yeah, it was, wasn't it?"
20 years later.
Yeah, I mean, it is just great. Directed by John McTiernan. Bruce Willis is in it. Alan Rickman's in it. It is a stunningly good movie to this day. And watching him kind of crawl around that skyscraper is still fun as hell. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check this one out because it really did. It influenced every action movie after it.
There you go. That's a good pick. So, Dave, my number 2 then is going to be A Fish Called Wanda.
Oh.
It's the reunion of Michael Palin and John Cleese. Kevin Kline won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for this film. It is a heist movie where a couple of the main bad guy, even though he's not in the film that much, gets caught, but he hides the jewels before they catch him. So everybody's trying to find out where the jewels are. And John Cleese plays the barrister that's representing the bad guy, whose name I can't even remember at this point. Jamie Lee Curtis plays the bad guy's girlfriend. Kevin Kline is pretending to be his sister, but they're really a couple. And Michael Palin is just the oaf guy who's part of the gang. But Dave, it is absolutely hilarious. I love A Fish Called Wanda. It's eminently rewatchable, and it's a great story. All the cast is universally great. Some great lines. I'm telling you, some absolutely hilarious moments. You will not be disappointed. If you have not seen A Fish Called Wanda, rent it this weekend. You and your family will love it, even though John Cleese is almost naked in it at one point. Or maybe that's a selling feature for you. I don't know.
It could go either way. My number 2 is Mississippi Burning, directed by Alan Parker, starring Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe. It's basically about 2 FBI agents who go to investigate like a murder of several children or kids, like college-age kids. And they do this in Mississippi in, the most racist time of Mississippi. I believe it was right before the Civil Rights Movement, right at the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement. Gene Hackman is kind of this grizzled veteran. Willem Dafoe is kind of this he's kind of plays it by the book, and the two of them have to like kind of come to an understanding to solve this case together. It is a phenomenal movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't believe it's number 2 on any list, but it is great.
Yeah, it is a brilliant film. I love Mississippi Burning, and honestly, it probably would have been my number 5, but I felt like I needed to give The Blob some love because I feel like it's a forgotten film. But Mississippi Burning is a great film, and Gene Hackman just chews up the scenery in this. He is like such a badass in the movie, and you love to see him every time he's on screen. So yeah, that's a great pick, Dave. So my number 1 then, I think should be fairly obvious from what I haven't mentioned yet. You've already mentioned it. It is the action film Die Hard that redefined the genre. So this way, like you said, if you haven't seen Die Hard, let me put it this way. If you haven't seen it, you have seen it at least a dozen times since.
Yeah.
It's been copied and redone so many times. It became a phrase. People would say, well, what's your movie Speed about? Oh, it's Die Hard in a bus. That's what people started referring to things as when they would do a pitch. Well, it's like Die Hard on a boat, or it's Die Hard at a quinceañera. It's that kind of a thing. So, and this is back when John McClane is still John McClane. He's you, he's me. He's just an everyday guy. He's not a superhero. Right. And that's the whole why. That's why the film works as well as it does. I remember the time too. People, I think what Bruce Willis got $5 million to star in the film, and people said, "Oh, that's crazy. He's a TV comedy actor," and the film propelled him into the stratosphere, became an instant leading man overnight, and I love it was kind of like the final nail in my love coffin for him because I loved him on Moonlighting.
Your love coffin?
Yeah, that's a really weird phrase. But I loved him in Moonlighting, and then Die Hard was a whole new thing, and Die Hard. I think out of all the films released in 1988, that was the most influential. That had the most lasting impact of any movie that year, and that's why it's my number 1.
Yeah, I would agree with you on this statement. It's definitely the most influential movie of the year. My number 1 is a movie you've already mentioned, A Fish Called Wanda. By far, my favorite movie of the year. It's a movie that I've come back to. It's timeless because it's so funny. Kevin Kline and John Cleese are both hilarious in this movie. They light up. Kevin Kline specifically lights up the screen. Mm-hmm. Like he really does. He's just so weird and so crazy, but so engaging. Like the stuff he does in this movie, he's totally convincing about doing. I love this movie so much. You already talked about it a lot, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. But it is one of those movies that if you haven't seen, I don't care how old the movie is, you have to see it. It's that good.
Exactly. Yeah. They came back together too for what? Like a film called, was it Heavenly Creatures? I can't remember what it was. Not good. Yeah. Very disappointing when they brought the whole cast back together. But Fish Called Wanda is a great film. That's a good. I'll allow that. It's a pretty good number 1, Dave.
So here's the stupid thing, Chris, is that I could totally replace my number 5 or my top 5 with 5 other movies right now.
What would those be?
I could do Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Bull Durham, Willow, Young Guns, and Rain Man, and still have a fucking solid list.
It would be a good list.
Those are also movies that came out in 1988.
What about Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Beetlejuice, The Naked Gun, Stand and Deliver, and Scrooged.
Big. They Live.
Big.
They Live, which has my favorite movie line of all time, which you're going to hear at the end of the show, just for a stinger. Crocodile
The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
There you go. Oh, I didn't realize that. I missed that. They came out that year?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn.
I mean, it was The Beast. Or they've changed the name of The Beast to The Beast of War since it was released, but that's that movie about the tank drivers in Afghanistan, the Russian tank drivers.
Yeah.
That movie is awesome.
Gorillas in the Mist, The Accused, The Accidental Tourist, Rain Man.
It's insane.
Sadly, a film I have not seen.
You've never seen Rain Man?
I haven't seen Rain Man.
Oh my God, you remind me so much of one of those characters too.
That's not nice.
What?
Clint Eastwood's Bird came out that year as well. And of course, don't forget Rambo 3.
Rambo 3.
And Caddyshack 2, one of the absolute worst films ever made. Ever.
It was a standout year. I mean, it was like a crazy good year. Can you imagine like if we were doing the show that year? Every week we'd be just like, yeah, this movie blew me away. This is one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. Crazy. So, Dave, here's your top 10 list for 1988. Coming at number 10, and there's actually rumblings now that they're actually going to make a sequel. So that's Beetlejuice.
Really?
Number 9 is Cocktail, another film I haven't seen. Number 8, as we said earlier, The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. Number 7, I was surprised by this. Number 7 is Die Hard. I thought it would have been a little higher.
I would have thought so too.
Number 6, Crocodile Dundee 2.
Is it better than Die Hard?
Yeah, by like over $20 million better.
Jesus.
Twins at number 5.
That was a good movie.
Big at 4.
That was a great movie too.
Number 3, a film we didn't mention, Coming to America.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And then number 1, the film I didn't see, Rain Man. Won Best Picture that year, as well as Best Director and Best Actor. So it was a big film. Jodie Foster won the Best Actress for The Accused. As we said, Kevin Kline won Best Supporting. And then Gina Davis for The Accidental Tourist won Best Supporting Actress.
I know I've seen The Accidental Tourist, but I can't think of that movie right now.
Yeah. I saw it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that, but I couldn't tell you a damn thing about it.
Yeah.
So we covered a lot of ground, but if we missed any of your favorite films, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. I'd love to hear them. Dave, it's time to take our medicine. Let's take a break, and let's talk about what we're going to see next week.
Don't make me do it.
Yeah.
Welcome, Your Majesty. I am Titus Abrasax, third primary of the House of Abrasax, and it is my profound honor to meet you.
You are aware that by detaining me without consent, you are in direct violation of Statute 27B/6.
Your Highness is a quick study of the entitled code, I see.
I also know that I can file a tax grievance against you unless you take me directly where I want to go.
I'd be delighted to take you wherever you'd like.
I'd like to go home.
So, Dave, there's a clip from Jupiter Ascending from the Wachowskis. I almost said the Wachowski brothers, but that's really not the case anymore. Dave, what happened? We got The Matrix.
Yeah.
You had Bound. Bound's a great film, too. You know what, though? I like Cloud Atlas a lot. People don't like... though it's bloated and a bit of a mess, I did really like Cloud Atlas.
That movie is way bloated, though.
Yes. But Jupiter Ascending coming in at a robust 36% right now on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
it's supposed to be visually stunning, but not... So we're slated to see that. We may call an audible, because there's some interesting stuff on Netflix. I don't know. We're going to figure that out here at First Run Central. In the meantime, check us out.
HQ.
That's right. Check us out at thefirstrun.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube as well. You can find us all there. Just do a search for The First Run. Dave, what's going on at the Briar Rabbit channel this week on YouTube?
I have been cheating on you, Chris. I have joined up with another podcast.
What the
Yeah, man. PlanetDestiny.com has invited me to be on their podcast, and it's been really exciting so far.
Is it... But it's still just video games, right? You're not doing.
It's not only about video games; it's about a video game.
All right, I can handle it as long as you're not doing another movie podcast with somebody. Then
it's like every week if we did a podcast about one movie. The Aviator every week. What's new in Aviator news?
So what happens when people stop playing Destiny?
We'll probably stop doing the podcast.
Fair enough. All right. We're working on some stuff here, too, I'm very excited about. We'll see how everything works out over the next couple weeks. But you'll have to stay tuned to find out what those things are. We're going to take an extended break. I'm going to work on Dave, see if we can watch 50 Shades of Grey in 2 weeks instead of Kingsman: The Secret Service. We'll see how that goes.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say.
So, but we'll see.
Let's say something.
In a week.
It's a high bar.
Oh, Dave, I forgot to say something, too. What's my favorite thing? My favorite ball player of all time is Don Mattingly.
All right.
So there you go. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.